And how many times have we seen someone will wait until, either a catastrophic moment or maybe
Mhm.
not catastrophic, maybe right before catastrophic. And then they're like, I need to make changes. Welcome to the Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Kim Ward, a certified master life and business coach, NLP practitioner, and your guide to building a life and business that you absolutely love. Welcome back to another episode of the Life by Design podcast. And when my friend Edie Summers raised her hand and said, I would love to be a guest, I immediately said, absolutely. Not only have I burnt out several times in my business, I know a lot of our audience and a lot of our friends get concerned. And Edie loves to share how to go from burnout to breakthroughs. And her expertise is teaching us to harness our energy, how to thrive in life and business and beyond. And don't we all want that, Edie? I mean, honestly.
Yes, Kim. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And yes, I mean, we all want to thrive. We all want to do our best and kind of reach that level of transformation even. And we have to take care of ourselves though along the way so that we don't burn out, whether it's in life or business. We have to remember that we're human beings.
And I think that's, in the entrepreneur world, what I hear is that's literally one of the hardest things to do. We're so good at putting our business first and our other humans first and our to-do list first. We are constantly putting ourselves on the back burner. And that's why I needed you here for my audience, because we have to shift that paradigm. I remember I was pretty close to burnout one time. I've retired my husband. I'm a caregiver for my elderly father who was literally just diagnosed with cancer for the second time. We have a 10-year-old daughter at home. And our business, this is the breadwinner for the family. So my dad looked at me one day and he said, if you go down, you derail this whole train. And that's when I realized I have to put my mask on first, so to speak.
Exactly. Yes, and I love that metaphor of being on the plane and remembering to put your oxygen mask on first. And
for sure.
Yeah, and actually, I think that people have heard this, but it's a good reminder that you are actually more productive when you factor in downtime and self-care time. You can be more efficient that way, because otherwise we're kind of sometimes, kind of
Just
grasping
treading water.
or treading water if we just keep going and going. None of us were designed to do that. And then I think sometimes people have to give themselves permission
For sure.
to take care of themselves and factor in that downtime. And also think of it this way, like, invest in your rest, right? Like, it's a practical part of your business. It's a practical part of your life. It's like brushing your teeth. So
I just wrote that down because that is so good. That right there, friends, write it down. That is such a golden nugget. Invest in your rest. I do have to ask you, because I know a lot of times when we have a business or a passion, we're usually who we used to be, or that's our ideal audience. So how did you become the expert of burnout to breakthrough?
Well, I appreciate the question. So, I mean, I developed chronic fatigue in my early 20s after a ski accident. So I kind of did it in reverse. I developed chronic fatigue first. So that's more related to usually health issues, but it can also develop because of too much burnout. But then later I became a business owner. I started working with startups and a content creator. And I did notice that, I mean, I'm the kind of person that strives for excellence and even maybe perfectionism. And that's something I have to work on. And a lot of people that tend to burn out kind of have that trait. But so I developed burnout on its own just through pushing myself too hard in my own business and in collaborating with other people, and also just kind of burning the candle at both ends. So that's when burnout came on my radar. So I kind of established myself more as a chronic fatigue expert, but now I like energy expert or energy coach or burnout coach as well, because they are very much tied together. And burnout used to be associated with work, right? Kind of like overextending yourself with work. But now we're realizing, and even in the research, they're showing that it's also tied to caregiving. It's tied to, even if you have a chronic condition, you can burn out just from having that. Too much stress, like burnout.
You just described my entire life. We need to talk.
I kind of saw the light in your eyes. Yeah.
No, ding, ding, ding. So amazing. I know that we all know our own body, but if we knew it as well as we thought we did, I don't think we'd get to the point where we have burnt out. We're good about pushing through. So my question for you is, if we were to look at a vehicle, when our vehicle needs maintenance, those red light warning signs come on the dashboard.
Yeah.
Your expertise, what are some of those red flag warning signs for us to know, hey, maybe you're pushing it too far, but yet the brain hasn't caught up to you yet?
Yeah. And if it's okay, I want to answer that in two ways. First of all, to answer your question directly, some of the major red flags that you're going to see are like feeling overwhelmed or unmotivated. If you start to notice that you just don't have that same drive, and again, if you're someone that normally has a lot of drive, that's a big red flag that you're headed to burnout, if not already there. So those are, and then lack of sleep, like not being able to sleep, like insomnia can be another red flag that you're probably in burnout or headed there. Headaches, stomach aches, things like that. Like those are usually pretty big red flags and warning signs that you have, again, give yourself permission to maybe try things a different way, and that's more balanced. But I would also say that before we even get to the red flags, your body is always sending you signals for what it needs. And it's actually linked to a concept called interoception, which is just, it's just kind of those bodily signals that sometimes if we're kind of more in a focused state, like externally, we may not notice them, but they're always there. And it's your body's way of trying to keep you in balance. So if you can allow yourself to create a little bit more mindfulness about checking in and slowing down just a little bit, you might start to notice those signals that your body's sending to you. Sometimes they come in the form of symptoms, maybe more mild symptoms like feeling a little bit tired, and that can be a sign like, hey, maybe I do need a break, even if it's just like a mental break.
Yeah.
Just letting your brain go offline. And I like to think of going offline either physically, because we are on tech so much and we really do need breaks from that. But yeah, I would say those are some of the more subtle signs, is just kind of what does your body need in the moment to help you stay in balance so that you don't get those bigger symptoms.
That's beautiful. I love both of those responses. Thank you for sharing, because there's so many times where, like you mentioned, a headache, or maybe you feel a little bloated, a little, we are so very dismissive of those things, and we're either, oh, it's allergies, or oh, it's this, or oh, it's this, and we don't really come back to center and listen. So I want to know, you mentioned mindfulness, and I love it. I'm all about it. I ground every day outside. We've actually got a grounding mat on our bed as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
What are some of your favorite exercises for mindfulness?
I love that. So first I want to say that if anyone's interested in mind-body practices like meditation, yoga, qigong, tai chi, those can really help you be more in the present moment. Mindfulness is, in a nutshell, without going too far into the Buddhist part of it, which can have a lot of other connotations too in a good way, but it's just about being really deeply present. So anything that's going to help you be more present is going to help. I love even like mindfulness meditation. I discovered that I learned about it in grad school, and it's something that really stood out to me because it's so simple. And it only takes a little bit of practice. All it is focusing on your breath, which is nice to do anyway, because a lot of us are taking shorter breaths, and that can create anxiety and fatigue, and that kind of takes us out of the present moment. So breathing, kind of noticing your breath, is very grounding. And all you do with mindfulness meditation is just notice your breath. And then if you notice your mind starting to wander off, you just draw your attention back to your breath. And it gets easy pretty quickly. And I also want to say though, Kim, as a caveat for anyone who's been through trauma, sometimes it's a little harder to feel more present in your body. So you could try to you focus your breath on something externally, let's say like a mountain or a tree. But I also love yoga, for instance, because yoga is actually about mindfulness.
Beautiful.
In its roots. Yeah. So or anything really, like you said, going outside and putting if it's warm, put your feet on the grass, anything that's going to help you feel more present is mindfulness. That's going to help you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of segue into your book because you have an amazing book out. It's called The Memory of Health. And this is all about chronic fatigue, self-care, and energy.
Yeah.
Who's this book for, really?
And Kim, thank you so much for mentioning that. And I would love to send you a copy if I didn't already. So please remind me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's written for anyone for sure who has chronic fatigue for any reason. So that could be because of burnout. It could be because of a chronic condition where chronic fatigue is a symptom. And that could be CFS, ME, fibromyalgia, lupus, MS. The list goes on and on for that, RA. But it's also written for anyone who's been through major stress or trauma, and who's been through a lot of stress or a major life or health challenge. So because it does have a lot of self-care tactics in it. It also has a lot of research and theories around what might be causing chronic fatigue. So thanks for asking.
Thank you for writing it because I always joke and I say life didn't come with a handbook.
Yeah, it
didn't. Thanks to people like yourself who are like, here's a culmination of either my skill, my training, my expertise, and my personal story. Yeah. Here it is for you. I do want to ask you, because I actually don't know this answer. Mm-hmm. And I know that when people start to read it, we get it at first, but as time goes on, we make it less and less of a priority and we forget to do the things that were once working. So do you offer any kind of coaching or support or accountability for people?
I do, and I appreciate you asking. I work with people online for free in like chronic fatigue support groups, but I have had a few individual clients, and then now I'm kind of more transitioning to, let's say, maybe high performers who tend to burn out. But yes, and I also just love to offer advice because I know that can be the hard part, right? Is the follow through. And a couple of things I just heard recently are like, don't get lost in the story. Like we want to make sure that we're coming back to our own situation versus like someone else's story. Like, oh, isn't that amazing and interesting? And, oh, I'm so glad that worked out for them. And then forgetting like, oh, wait a second, I can apply this to myself. And then also in terms of habits, I just went through high performance training and I love learning new strategies for that follow through part, like making those habits stick. And one of my favorite things I just learned is take a habit you already have and then stack a new habit on top of it, like something that you're trying to integrate into your life. So you kind of do something that you already know that you're doing. Again, it could be brushing your teeth, or maybe you take a walk on a regular basis and then see if you can just slide that new one in. And it has to be something that is small, so it's not overwhelming to you. And then if you're trying to replace a bad habit, this is another tip. I've kind of known about this, but it's a good reminder, is try to find a replacement that's somewhat similar, but better for you. But yes, I do offer that. And I think a lot of us do, right? Because I love the coaching model and the consulting model. Coaching is all about being that guide for people. And the truth of the matter is that we all have to do the work ourselves, but it's nice to have someone helping you along the way. It makes it a little easier.
Absolutely. I'm going to link your book down below, so we'll be able to find that. That's amazing. What a great resource.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that.
So what's been the biggest challenge so far in your journey?
Wow. Well, I would say in terms of my business, it's hanging in there, right? Because, I mean, I just stumbled across a Nova episode. I tend to record Nova episodes just automatically. And so they record all these Nova episodes that I would never normally find. And they happen to do one about business, like for content creators or online businesses. The whole thing was about it. And it just reminded me of, oh, that's right. You got to hang in there because I've been doing it for about 20 years now. And I think, the most important thing is not to give up. And I think that applies to health or wellness challenges too, or anything really.
Definitely.
Just hang in there a little bit longer, because it's the people that hang in there that are the people that get that transformation or those results. So I think that's something that I struggled with early on, because, it can be easy to get frustrated.
Yes.
That like, oh, maybe that's not meant for me, but it's meant for anyone who hangs in there.
I love that. There used to be this meme through social media. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a top and a bottom layer, and it's both a gentleman with like an axe, like a pick type of thing, and he's kind of shoveling through a stone wall. But the guy on the top gave up like 1 or 2 strikes before he hit a huge, huge mound of diamonds. And the guy on the bottom, he was taking the last strike and he was going to strike diamonds. So that's what popped into my mind as you were saying that. Staying in there and just going that one extra step. And it's like, there's your breakthrough.
Exactly.
Moment.
Exactly. I think the breakthrough is hanging in there. And of course, you always have to adjust along the way. But I love that metaphor. I'm a big fan of metaphors. So
yeah, that was just obviously such a profound graphic, because it popped in as soon as you were saying that. I'm like, yeah.
Love it.
So I got to ask, what's your goal with what you do? Like, how do you see you helping people? What's the goal? What's the vision?
Yeah, so I appreciate that question, Kim. So actually now I'm working on what's called a branded app or native app. So I think that's I'm doing it through Kajabi, and I've worked with startups before, so I know like how powerful apps can be. And it used to be that those weren't available to maybe a small business owner because they can be really expensive. But I think it's a great way to have all of your content available for people.
That's awesome.
Across the board. So, and then, kind of the sky's the limit, right? Like you just never know. Like I'm always striving for excellence, like I said. So the next level is, it might be more training. It might be, I've had some, I don't know if they're real inquiries, but it's good if you have a book and you write it, because it can open doors and there might be some possibilities there for me. So I've always wanted to, even though my book is more based on health and wellness, I think that there's always that story of transformation and breakthrough, even in something like that. So, but yeah, just wanting to help people. I'm all about wellness, right? So the more I can kind of, in a nutshell, kind of help move that needle on well-being for people, I think is really, really important to me. So whatever that looks like, I think health can be really important, but well-being is a little more, I think, attainable for all of us. And it's really, it's mindset, it's holistic, it's factoring yourself in.
I love it all.
That, so
what about you? So if the focal point is on the well-being, it will fall into place, right?
Absolutely. Everything. Yeah. Did you say that everything falls into place?
I didn't quite part. So if you had
yes, it often does. We can't always control what our health is going to do, and that's the thing is I also want to say to people that anyone who is struggling with health issues, like, and this is maybe another way that I used to get stuck, is thinking that, I need to have like perfect health. And what I've learned is that, I developed a new normal after I developed chronic fatigue. And in some ways, my energy got better because I learned how to take better care of myself. But generally speaking, I have a new normal. And I think sometimes, health is, it is what it is, but we can still, I agree, the more we take care of ourselves and prioritize well-being, yes, that oftentimes translates into better health.
You know what? I have so much respect for you saying my new normal, because so many people will look at things like an all or none. Because there is a new normal, things can't be the way they were before. So they just stop doing instead of adjusting. And I love that you said
Yeah.
that, because it almost gives us permission to look at what is my new normal and how do I make the appropriate adjustments to go along with it. That's
Mhm.
really cool. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. And I think that's true for all situations too, even in habits, right? Like
Yeah.
nothing is ever going to be perfect but you can always strive for, I mean, yeah, when it comes to a new normal, that's kind of maybe health related, but I think it's also true for habits, right? Because we're always changing. And, I think what scares people about habits and changing is that, there's that initial fear, right, of like the unknown. I've really learned this, that if we don't know what's coming next, sometimes we're afraid
Yes.
to go there.
Absolutely.
But so whether it's a new normal that we find in terms of health, or because of we're trying new things, right? Like a lot of people that have health issues are motivated to try things, but we have to remind ourselves to be motivated, whether it's in health or wellness or business in life. Like remind yourself of what your end goal is, and then allow yourself to take chances on new things, because you never know, like what might give you a new normal in a really amazing way, let's say in your business, because you're
Yes.
trying something new.
And how many times have we seen someone will wait until, either a catastrophic moment, or maybe not catastrophic, maybe right before catastrophic. And then they're like, I need to make changes.
Yeah,
Not wait
absolutely.
till it gets to that point.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes that is a big motivator, but I think that if we're thinking about like personal development, like it's more exciting to think about like how can I reach the next level or the next new normal, like when I'm feeling pretty good, and instead of like having to, I think part of our normal right now, it kind of seems like collectively is, maybe a little bit being in that catastrophic. I hope that I really hope for collective well-being too. And I really hope that more of us can find a more stable place where we're helping one another kind of reach higher ground from stable ground already,
Yes.
versus, but that can be a big motivating factor. And sometimes that's good, if that's what gets you motivated from that place where you feel like the bottom has fallen out or is about to, then that's okay too.
Yeah. Yes. So I want to kind of go into the weeds a little bit, because I think chronic fatigue is more apparent than many people realize. Let's say someone has or is experiencing chronic fatigue. What is your best recommendation for them to get through the things that they need to get through while not going deeper down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, such a great question. I really appreciate it. So my best advice would be to think about what's called an energy envelope. And we talk a lot about this in the chronic fatigue support groups. So you can think of it as, we have a window of energy. It could be really small, and you want to work within it so that you don't overstress your body. And even if it's really small, so meaning you need to take a lot of frequent breaks. And even if you can only get one thing done in a day, or nothing done, just honoring that energy envelope. And again, it has to do with that internal, like being aware of your internal and bodily signals, right? Because your body's telling you where the upper limit of your energy is and where the lower limit of your fatigue is. It's telling you through that energy envelope. And then what helps what helps grow it is working within that envelope. And then it can be a slow process if someone has chronic fatigue. But it is possible. And that's how I work with my energy, is always as much as I can within my energy envelope, because that's how I developed burnout, is when I started pushing myself beyond it.
Wow.
So, but your body, even your what's called your vagus nerve can get more resilient if you work within it, and then your body gets more, it gets stronger or more resilient, and then the energy envelope starts to grow, and then you can do a little bit more. So, and also, be kind to yourself, and again, give yourself permission to rest when you need to. I need a lot of downtime. I need more downtime than the average person. I've been like that ever since my early 20s, and I had my ski accident and surgery and developed chronic fatigue. And it took me a long time to make peace with that. And I finally have. There can be a lot of shame around like people that have chronic conditions or health challenges or any type of challenge that's outside the norm. There can be shame attached to it, because we're sometimes deemed as other, but everyone has challenges, and we're all other, really. And if you think about it.
I agree. I definitely agree.
So
I should have asked you this question at the beginning, but how does someone make that identifier as if they have chronic fatigue?
So it can be really helpful to work with a practitioner, which sometimes can be hard to find because not a lot of practitioners are super well versed in it. Integrative practitioners are a little bit better, or like a functional medicine practitioner. And or when I say integrative, I mean someone who has studied both modern medicine and alternative. There are more doctors now that are studying both, and they tend to be pretty good at understanding like how to approach the body holistically. But there are practitioners who specialize in chronic fatigue and related conditions, or conditions that have chronic fatigue. And I'm happy to recommend people to the people that I know.
Amazing.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I love that we're having this conversation, because there really needs to be awareness around it. I've seen so many talented people, like you say, either not push through or give up, and it's like they're putting that ownership on them, where maybe there is underlying issues, and you're not giving yourself the self-care and respecting that energy envelope, if you will. So
yeah,
for a fact, there's someone listening and they're like, okay, I need in her world. So if someone were to step into your world, which door would you want them to walk through? Is it your book? Is it a group, like you said? What does that look like?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Kim. I would say, yes, they could check out my book. It's if they, and there's an audiobook version coming if they need to listen first, or it's also in the first couple pages of the book. There's a summary, because a lot of people say to me, I'm so tired, I can't read this book right now. But there is a summary of a couple pages in the beginning. I would say definitely check that out. But then we also have support groups. So I would say, if they come follow me on Facebook, and they can also type in this address on Facebook. It's facebook.com/chronic fatigue support. That takes you to a major page where there are tons of active people talking about chronic fatigue. But they can also message me from Facebook, or DM me, or on any of the social media platforms. Yeah. And there's a lot of support. And I just want to say, Kim, that burnout and chronic fatigue are both on the rise at work and in our personal lives. It's shown in research, they're on the rise. So people are feeling really stressed out, kind of like when we were talking about, it is like the new normal, and that's not normal to feel that way. So
yeah, for sure. I'm going to link all of these assets in our show notes. So you to our listener, you'll be able to click the links down below and check out the group and message Edie and grab her book. I'd love to just give you the floor for a moment. Is there anything that I haven't covered, or anything that you want to say to our listeners that needs to be said?
Well, first of all, Kim, I just want to thank you so much for being here, and it's so lovely to meet you this way. I know we've been in some similar kind of like summits, but it's nice to meet you, and thank you for what you're doing too. I know that you're interviewing so many people, and you help people create kind of be successful with Pinterest, and which is super cool. I've never seen anyone give suggestions on how to do that correctly. So thank you for doing that.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this podcast. And I would just say one thing that you and I were talking a little bit about before we started was that something I've also noticed starting to happen, or maybe it's always been happening, is in terms of business, is that the number one reason that people, the number one reason that their businesses fail, or that they stop working on their business, or it could be a startup. So maybe you're a business owner or a founder, is because of burnout. So, and again, like, take care of yourself, factor in your own health and well-being. It's super important. I've worked with startups. I know what that pace is like. Like there's like this kind of frenzied pace to like, you want to get funding, you want to get everything done, but it's also true in small businesses, right? Like,
Sure.
like just, I would say, I heard this from Deepak Chopra, like just there's all the time in the world, there, in some ways that's really true. Like we don't have to get everything done all at once. Your business is going to thrive, I think, and survive if you remember that you're a part of the business.
Yes.
And if you're not taking care, you're like the front person. Usually it's the people that are at the front and center of the business that if they lose motivation, right? Like you're kind of the driving force of your business, right? So
definitely.
Yeah, factor yourself in and know that that's a risk, but that there's a lot you can do about it.
That's a really scary statistic. The number one reason is like burnout. So if you're taking anything away from my conversation with Edie today, it is number one, self-care is not selfish at all. One of the first things I did in my business after burnout was I went to my dry erase board and I said, Kim, what do you want? And I don't want fluffy thing. I'm like, what do you really want? And I started to write from my heart. And I put down monthly massage, monthly facial, more time to actually read and things like that. And so December of 2023 is the very first month that my daughter and I started going every single month for Mommy and Me facials. We have one today, as a matter of fact.
Awesome.
Every single month, my husband and I go for 90-minute massages. And it's been a monthly non-negotiable every single month since then. And that's just
awesome.
So obviously, self-care doesn't have to be a big bougie routine. It can be, like you've suggested today, taking those moments to breathe, meditate, yoga, all of those wonderful exercises that you shared with us. And so you being at the helm, you have to invest in your rest. Edie, I mean, that was such a coined phrase. I love that.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. And thank you. And I'm so glad that you've factored yourself into your business. And I can only imagine that it's doing better because of that. And I also want to say though that, it's also that, rest downtime could be like going to nature.
Yes.
It could be play. Just give your brain like a rest from like that go feeling, because no one can maintain that all the time and you'll end up being more productive and more creative. But I find, it's the more you pace yourself, I think I'm actually finding, and there's that concept of flow too, right? And I'm probably going to say his name wrong, but it was developed by, is it Mihai Csikszentmihalyi? I'm probably saying his name wrong.
I wouldn't know, so you sound
okay. Well, but I'm actually finding that when I factor that into my business, like, or even in my life, like where you kind of go to it's kind of like the energy envelope concept in a way. And I don't want to take away from his definition of it and research, but what's kind of related to it is the concept of going to the upper edge of what you're capable of, but without going over it. Doesn't that sound like avoiding burnout and kind of maximizing your energy, and that maximizes your creativity and productivity? But also when I think about flow, think about, yes, you're bringing your best self, but you're taking that edge off where you're not like pushing yourself. You're staying in the flow with the flow of your business, right? Like I find that things come more to me when I'm more in that place. Like I'm still engaged, but it's at a more moderate pace.
I love that.
I find that to be the sweet spot. So
Brilliant. Well, I cannot thank you enough. We're going to see you in your book. We're going to see you in your Facebook groups. We're going to see you on Facebook. Just such a valued guest. This is just full of golden nuggets and value. And I know this is an asset to our listeners. So thank you so much, Edie.
Thank you, Kim. And thank you to you for hosting all of us. And and I look forward to learning more from you too. And you're definitely a bright light. So thank you. And it's so lovely to meet you this way.
Thank you so much. And hey, before you go, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. And as always, Friends don't let friends grow and develop alone. So share this episode with someone you love and care about. We'll see you in the next episode.